Hello everyone, I've got a new idea, and that is that you can make your own sponge fingers for desserts. It's easy to make, and the technique is mostly just like making chiffon cake. This one is from Rose's Heavenly Cakes, but I'm not showing you the recipe, I'm showing you how I make it and giving you some tips and ideas for the practical side of baking. Now, if you don't have a 3/4 inch piping nozzle, which I don't, you can make your own. So 3/4 inches, and from that I got the circumference and divided that in half, which results in 1.2 inches. Now I'm drawing a line where the piping bag becomes 1 inch wide, and then drawing a curved line from there. I might adjust it a little bit, and then before I cut out that curve, I'm going to strengthen the bag with cellophane tape. And now I have my own 3/4 inch nozzle. Secondly, this is how I use piping bags. I use disposable plastic bags, and I have these little food keeping clips. So I clip the bottom, flip the opening over, and put everything in a cup, so filling it will be clean and easy. Later on, I'm just going to take that clip and use it at the top of my piping bag, so I don't make any mess and have all the good stuff ooze out the top, which I do not want. Tip number 3, weighing makes baking easier. And how do I weigh flour that needs to be sifted? Easy. Put a plate and the sift over the weighing machine, turn it on, and then measure your flour. I need 150 grams, measure it into the sieve. Next, I've got to separate the eggs, so I take the eggs out of the fridge. Cold eggs are easier to separate, and the tray here serves two purposes. One is to keep the egg from getting on my countertop, and two, so that I can put the right number of eggs on the tray and break them and not get lost. Alright, so I crack the eggs on the table because cracking them on a bowl might crack the yolk, and we don't want that. I'm cracking it into a small clean bowl, and I'm using my hands to scoop out the yolk. Transfer it from hand to hand to remove any whites. Put the yolk in the yolk bowl, the egg white in the egg white bowl, and there you have it. If your egg yolk breaks for any reason, you can save the yolk, but you should not use the whites, because you need absolutely clean egg whites for your egg whites to be beaten into a stiff meringue. They will lose a huge amount of volume if there's a single bit of fat in there. Which brings me to another tip. Always have your bowl and whisk for your egg whites perfectly clean, and perhaps wash them with hot soap and a bit of vinegar. That's the foolproof way, otherwise all your egg whites will have to be wasted and your recipe will not turn out right. You can see here that I've started putting sugar in the yolks and I'm beating them. If you want to beat by hand, be sure to beat the egg yolks in the larger bowl, because your whites will have to be added to your yolks. The heavier stuff goes to the bottom, so use a larger bowl for the egg yolks. And I do recommend using a mixer for mixing egg yolks, simply because they are so much harder to beat, in my experience, than egg whites. Egg whites beat up pretty fast. Egg yolks take forever to get to that stage. Now you can see that it goes from being deep orange to very, very pale yellow, and that's what you're looking for. And when you lift your whisk out of the mixture, it leaves a ribbon, and that is called the fluffy pale ribbon stage of beating egg yolk. So this will take a while. I would recommend using either a stand mixer, a hand mix, or an electric whisk. It is torture to do it by hand. So in a large but smaller bowl, I'm whisking my egg whites by hand, and really it is so easy and it's very fast as well. You may need some practice, but you can see how I'm holding the bowl and whisking with a rotating arm movement or wrist movement, either way. When your hand gets tired, just switch. And you can also put it on the table and angle your whisk when adding ingredients such as cream of tartar and sugar. I used to overbeat my egg whites until I learned the secret, that is, always add cream of tartar. That will prevent overbeating and makes it so much easier. So you can see when there's a stiff peak, if you lift your whisk out of the egg white slowly, you get a peak that stands up even upside down. You need to put in a third of the whites first into the yolk, remember the heavier stuff at the bottom, and then fold it until the flour is incorporated, and then fold the next third, and then the next third. And it's important that you work with absolute efficiency and speed, but don't be too rough, don't overbeat, do as fast as possible, fill up your piping bag as soon as the mixture is ready and start piping. Now, when piping, do not press your nozzle down over the batter. Either have it at an angle or hover above the baking tray. Now, I'm using a silicone mat simply because it makes baking so much easier. If you bake a lot, you don't want to be cutting lots and lots of parchment or baking paper all the time. Now you can see I've baked mine. The first batch was baked near the top of the oven. It rose really well. I really enjoy making my own lady's fingers. It makes the dessert so much more special in a homemade way. So if you do try out any of my tips, do let me know if they work for you, because everything works for everyone differently. And thank you for watching.